Alright, here's the video review for the Sentinel re-edit Iron Man Bleeding Edge armor designed by Chemical Attack, as you can see there on the package. It's a fully licensed Iron Man figure from Sentinel. They do all kinds of cool stuff. I think they just did that gigantic action Scorponok that I think Vangelis did a review of recently as well. This is a smaller scale. It's a very, very nice figure. This will be out, I think, sometime end of January in the mass release. I don't know if there'll be any changes to the packaging. This one was the version released at the Toy Soul convention in Singapore, I believe, just last week or the week before. I think a few days before Christmas. And this version is limited to, I think, 188 pieces is what it was, and I was lucky enough to have someone nab one for me, because this is... I've been waiting for this. It was really supposed to be out, I think, end of October or maybe November, and then it got pushed back to December, and now it's been pushed back to late January. So being able to get a hold of this is huge, because this is one of my favorite Iron Man armors from one of my favorite Iron Man story arcs. But we'll get into that in a minute. So just going over the box real quick, there's a really nice picture on the photo of the back of the figure close up, and the Sentinel logo up here. And that's just a solid black box. Inside the box itself, well, actually, before I open that up, it does have a window box function, so you can open it up and see inside, as well as a painting of the really nice piece of art for the armor over here. Now, the one difference between what you're seeing here and how it actually showed up was he did come... The figure itself was fully wrapped in some plastic wrap in there to keep, with a few little pieces, you know, to keep parts from over together, much like you'd expect from a Hot Toys. But the figure itself was also wrapped in plastic to keep it from, you know, for any paint from chipping or anything. If it ever goes back into storage for whatever reason, either just to move or whenever, I'm saving that plastic wrap. I am certainly going to keep him safe and protected while he's in this box. The plastic tray does protect him, but you don't want to shake it around too much. I just put him back in here without it, just to show off how he looks in package there. So inside here, you've got two plastic trays and a little baggie here. And as far as I know, there's only a few pieces that were exclusive to the Toy Soul version. As far as I know, everything you see in this top tray here, the figure, the wrist gauntlets, the blue repulsor blasts, and all of these alternate fists, as well as the figure itself. That's all standard to the normal release. There's a second tray here that comes with a stand, and comes with a stand, a clip, a pole. Now this is kind of a Hall of Armor type background. You can kind of see with a schematic of the Bleeding Edge armor on it. That piece specifically, I was told they were advertising as this part. Like the stand and everything is fine, but this background, I think, was specific to the Toy Soul convention. Now, so I don't know, and I don't know how accurate that is. This may end up coming with a piece. There's this whole big tray underneath. I don't know if they'll rework it to just have these three pieces, or if there will be something else in this spot when the main release comes out. Because there are a couple of little indentations in the back here for reasons unknown. So there may be a piece over here in the mass release that just isn't here in the that they replaced with this part for the Toy Soul version. I don't know, but this is what comes with the Toy Soul version. And then the Toy Soul specific pieces also come in a little baggie. You get a couple of the red repulsor blasts, they're just like the blue ones. They're just red fading to clear versus blue, as well as this extra little stand to help facilitate some flight poses. And it should plug into like any sort of SHF stand. It looks like it's got the same size port. It does work on the stand included with it, and we'll get into that. But it's got this little articulated stand if you want to have them in more action-y poses than the post and clip. The post and clip is very similar to what you'll see on some of the Hot Toys figures. So just an extra little stand. So a few extra pieces that were only available at Toy Soul, as well as the figure itself, which is you know, really the main draw here. There's also a little booklet of instructions and things about the character here. So let's go ahead and crack this bad boy open. Try to do this without popping all the parts loose. So it has like just about every single recess in this tray has those little notches that clip it together. So everything is held in very securely. It's not just like four corners that snap in. Like every little recess tray in here has those little clips, which makes the figure very secure in the packaging, but does make it a little difficult to pop out without playing perfection with all the little pieces. So there's the figure itself, and it's just gorgeous. Oh god, just absolutely gorgeous. It really does feel like a miniature Hot Toys. I can't explain it any better than that. That's exactly the feel I get messing with it as a miniature Hot Toys. And the camera, looking at the screen here from behind the camera, doesn't capture just the really nice, rich red and gold on this guy. All the spine detailing, all his repulsor nodes all over. I haven't figured out if these actually glow in the dark yet. They could be glow in the dark paint. I don't believe they are. They look like they're just blue, but there may be a glow factor to them because he's covered in repulsor nodes all over the armor itself. Now this seems unfamiliar to you, or it may seem slightly familiar to you. Marvel has released, like the Hasbro or the Legends figures and the collectible figures have released this armor as Heroic Age Iron Man, is what he's been called a couple of times, because that was the big Marvel push. They were calling everything the Heroic Age when this armor first debuted. The 3 3/4 inch figures called it the modular armor, which bugs the crap out of me, because I always called it the resilient armor for a long time, because that was the story arc in which it first showed up. And apparently the official name is the Bleeding Edge, but it certainly was not the modular armor. The modular armor was an armor he came up with in the mid-90s to fight Ultimo shortly after Rhodey had been Iron Man for a while, because Tony had supposedly died from a techno-organic virus that was attacking his nervous system, but they managed to fix it and he came back, and Rhodey was pissed and whatever. But so there was that. But the modular armor, if you ever saw the old mid-90s Iron Man cartoon, the main armor in that was based on was what the modular armor looked like, and it had different weapons he could swap. It basically had like little slots and everything where he could attach mission specific items, which is why it was called the modular armor. This is the Bleeding Edge armor, which if you haven't read Matt Fraction's Invincible Iron Man, oh god, go do it. It was one of my favorite Iron Man stories to date. Matt Fraction wrote it from beginning to end. It ran for about, I guess, 40 or 50 issues a few years back, and was just really great. This armor was the successor to the Extremis, and if you remember the Extremis, he could call the armor to him, but the kind of yellowish underbody suit that connected him to the armor was something he stored in the hollows of his bones. Like, it was literally internal on Tony Stark, and it kind of, like a symbiote, kind of came out of him and covered him in the yellow suit, the yellow undersuit, and then the armor would attach, and that was kind of the interface between him and the suit. This suit, as the successor to Extremis, actually the entire suit was stored within his body. Like, he literally just kind of thought about it, and it kind of like I said, like the Venom symbiote, or like just kind of sweated out of like the repulsor node in his chest, and just almost like liquid metal formed the suit around him. It's an awesome suit, and I'm sad it didn't hang around in the comics for very long. And I hope to God somebody got one of these figures to Matt Fraction, because it's beautiful and gorgeous. And like I said, he did an amazing run, and one of my favorite Iron Man arcs of all time. So definitely check that out if you get the chance. Anyway, now that I've gone on my little Iron Man history lesson and kind of nerded out a little bit, we'll look at the figure itself. And like I said, it's beautiful, just really nice. And like I said, it feels like a miniature Hot Toys. It's got all the joints. You can see, like, even here, the way the helmet moves. It's actually moving this earpiece and the back part of the helmet. The front part of the helmet slides up over it. You can see that there's the repulsor node on the back of his head revealed. And if you lift his head up, it kind of covers it. The way the joints work. He's got these movable shoulder pads that swivel hinge. They lift up here. You can see it's on a ball joint right there. The arms move, the shoulders moving. You see that panel moving in there on his body, his chest. They say don't pull it apart at the chest or at the head, because the electronics in this are hardwired in there. It's not like the Hot Toys where you can pop the head off and pop a new head on. So you do want to be careful when moving it. It should put up to any normal twist, but, you know, don't take the top of him and spin it around or anything. There are wires running through there, so you don't want to get too rough, or you don't want to try to do an exorcist with his head. And the batteries, you can see, go in right here. But he's got all these moving panels. The hip armor moves a little, has a little bit of give and up and down movement. The flaps move. The flaps are actually dual hinge, so when you pull, even if you pull his leg out like that, you can pull it out and fold it down. So there's a little hidden hinge there on the side armor. These little panels on his thighs, you can see move with the armor. You see how the knees come out there. Even the feet have articulated toes, and even then there's a piece. The ankle piece is a separate section from the foot itself, so you can bend it up kind of up here at the angle, and then the toe itself is independently posable off of that piece. So just a whole lot of movement. He's got a little bit of ab crunch. This little armor piece kind of leans forward to let him crunch. The armor back here comes up and opens up to let him do a little ab crunch. It's really, I mean, I just, like I said, it's one of my favorite armors. If not, I think this might actually be my absolute favorite armor that he's ever had, and it's just gorgeous. There's movements in the, you can see how that rear leg panel collapses down to give him more movement when folding his leg up. You can fold his legs completely back up against his body there. The arms have the same type of flex. So you got a really good range of motion in the figure itself. I think my only complaint is that these the wrist covers don't rotate at all. So if you try to get them out like that, this is always gonna be off to the side. It doesn't rotate around the arm like some do. I'm not gonna try to force it. But he does have a little ball joint fist. And again, the fists do pop off, and you can swap them out. And much like I just got the Heartbreaker Iron Man armor today, the Hot Toys Heartbreaker, and he has the same kind of gimmick here, and where there's a piece here on his back that you can pull up, and under there you can see the tiny little switch. And when you turn it on, you'll see the blue here in the back of the repulsor node on the back of his helmet. And plug that back on, and it lights up both his chest and head repulsor nodes, or his eyes, his chest repulsor, as well as that repulsor there on the back of his helmet. It would be neat if they could have made all the repulsor nodes light up, but I mean, you can see how tiny and how all over the body these little repulsor nodes are. Two on the feet, there's a couple back here, on the hips, which, you know, on a Hot Toys figure, maybe they could find some fiber optic solution for connecting a couple on the shoulder pads, for connecting a lot of those torso repulsor nodes to the lighting system. It would have been, I think, overly ambitious for a figure this size, and I don't really blame them, but it would have been cool. That's why I said maybe they use some sort of glow-in-the-dark paint. I haven't seen any evidence. I haven't gotten it to glow. If it does, it's very faint, but it's just a gorgeous figure. And before we get into some of the accessories, I'll do a real quick size comparison. Just so you know, like I said, he's not full Hot Toy size, but there he is with the aforementioned Marvel Legends versions of the same armor. This is not the 3 3/4 inch figure. This is the 6 inch figure that a lot of that came out, during the Iron Man. Was it Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3? I think it was Iron Man 2 when a lot of these came out. But that Marvel Legends size. So he's a little tall. He's taller than a 6 inch figure, scale figure. He's not a 1/12 scale. But he's not. Again, he's not 1/6 scale. Obviously, he's much smaller than that. For Transformers fans, just to give you an idea, here he is with Voyager Springer. So he's just a little taller than Voyager Springer. And here he is with the Revoltech Iron Man. Which, man, I remember when I got this Revoltech Mark VI, and was wow, this is so great. Look at all the poses I can get him in. And next to him, it just looks. I mean, I pulled them out of the box, and I'm like, how did I ever like this thing? It does have a lot of posability in it, thanks to the joint system, but it's so much more of a pain to get into a decent pose than this guy is. So, on to the accessories. I'll go ahead and pull the stand out. Come here. So here's the base right here. And these clear pieces under here come off. And I'm not sure... They have two little points, and I'm not sure if these serve a function, or maybe they come out... Oh! Okay. So, I know they've got a couple other Iron Man figures coming out, and it looks like these extend out, so you can now clip... You can clip... And these are kind of slightly angled, so you can clip these together in kind of a Hall of Armor style if you get more than one of them. That's really nice. That's super sweet. So hopefully that will... Hopefully I'll have a reason to get more of these. I know they have an armorized Iron Man coming out that has the extremis armor. You can kind of pull some of the armor off and see Tony underneath. And I don't. I get this would seem to indicate that they plan to continue the line beyond just those two. But either way, that's really neat. It means when I get the regular version, I can put a couple stands next to each other. Here's the clip, which again is very much like it's got some very soft silicone material under here, which is nice when it's rubbing against the figure. You don't have to worry about scratching your figure because it does have a layer of silicone on each side just to kind of keep that from damaging your figure itself. And of course, here's the back plate, and you can see the pegs right here, and it pegs in right here into the back of the stand. It is in sections, like each section is separate from each other, so be careful when pulling it out. You don't like have it go flying apart. But they snap in fairly securely once you push them all together. And then there is a metal rod here, and this metal rod plugs into the back. And of course, you can slide this down it to support the figure. And this does have some movement this way, so you can still have him in some flying poses if you want with this arm, although it's a little less elegant than the other one. You can put that on there, and you can pick him up, and you can clip him in with that. So there, you can angle it down a little bit. You can have him standing in the Hall of Armor. Just to give you an idea. And again, that's if you want to have a Hall of Armor style display. If you want to change it up a little bit, you can pull this out. Actually, you can pull that whole thing out, I guess. This actually, like... Oh, go ahead and get the rod out of there. This little piece comes out, this clear plastic piece. It can plug into any of the three... You can see there's 3 slots here on the base that it can plug into. So go ahead and pull those out. Pull them apart. It's very easy to get this one. The pegs on this one stick in better than these two stick together, so that'll come off. And then there is also the flight stand. Now the flight stand is not does not have that silicone lining, but it's soft enough, and like as long as you're careful with it, shouldn't be an issue. You do need to get that. I guess I do need to get this off of the pole here. Whoa. Took a little bit more force than I expected. So this can plug in here, and then plug in right here. You can get him, kind of grip it around his body. Oh, I had this working earlier. Come on. So yeah, you can support him like that. And use it in all sorts of different things. You can, if you want to have him, you could have him float like this, have him in a flying position, lift his helmet up. This is just for example. I'm not doing this greatly, but support his body here. But yeah, you can get him in some flying positions here. Again, that's not a great flying position. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to show off how the gimmick works. Here, it kind of fits right up here in these grooves under his under the chest piece. Also, one of the things that I did not mention is that let's just use this to support him real quick. Is the base itself. There we go. Just for that, this base itself actually rotates. There's like an inner lazy Susan, I guess. I guess turntable is the word I'm looking for. Outside the exterior of the base. So if you have him in the stand in like a flying position and it's not quite centered, or if in a pose in the stand that the pole doesn't hold him quite centered, you can rotate it so he's still centered on the base if you have the background on, or whatever you wish. But that's just kind of a neat little feature that you can rotate this little part as well. Now, on to the other accessories, the hands and such. He comes with 4 different kinds of hands. He comes with kind of a flat-palmed hand. He comes with a kind of karate chop hand with non-spread fingers. He comes with a very a wide-fingered kind of flat palm repulsor blast hand. And then he comes with more of a relaxed, natural, curved hand, repulsor blast type hand. And these go on very easily. You just pop the old hands off of the little ball joint here. Snap this on. And they go on very easily. They stay on very well. I have not had any worries about breaking anything. And see, that's kind of the reason that I... Oh, there we go. Now, that I'm a little sad that these don't rotate, because the ball joint doesn't rotate here that I can tell, and I don't want to force it. It moves up and down in this direction, and the gauntlet piece moves up and down in this direction. So it will get out of the way for his hand, but when he pulls his hand up like this, it doesn't come up on the back of his hand like I feel it should. But that's a very minor qualm in the face of everything else. Put his fist back on. Actually, before I put his fist back on, I'll show you off the other little bit here. It's starting to get a little messy here. And that is over here on the left of the package. There are these little pieces right here. And on this armor, these pieces were gauntlet blasters. He could still do the same palm repulsor blast as always, but he also had some little things that popped up out of his wrists. And you could, kind of like he did in, if you remember, on Iron Man 2, when he pulled out those lasers that he spun around and cut all the drones, and said he couldn't do it all that often, and Rhodey was all like, you should have done that at the beginning. Those type of things. And you can have him do that. So that comes up here, hides under that little gauntlet bit. And then the repulsor blasts. And like I said, I'm not going to pull the red ones out. I haven't opened that package. They look exactly like this, but red instead of blue. And these plug in here, just like that. So you can give him those kind of repulsor lances in his wrist. But yeah, like I said, this is my favorite armor, possibly ever. I do still like his old, the old armor with the hip discs. I like the Heartbreaker armor. I like a lot of his movie armors. Post Mark 1. I can't even dig the Mark 1, but not in the same way. But this one is just, it's a great armor from a great story. And Sentinel has done just an amazing rendition of it here in plastic. So there is the Sentinel Bleeding Edge Iron Man armor. This is, like I said, this is the Toy Soul exclusive version that just came with the red repulsors, the extra flight stand, and possibly that Hall of Armor background for the stand. The base itself will come with a regular figure, but all the promo materials I saw showed that Hall of Armor background as being exclusive to the Toy Soul. I don't know if that will be replaced or substituted with something else on the main release. I do still have the main release pre-ordered, so we'll find out what comes with that when it comes out next month. But there, I hope you liked it. This one's gone a little longer just because I'm super excited for it, and I'm a little geeking out a little bit about Iron Man. But there are Sentinel's Bleeding Edge Iron Man from the Re-Edit line, and I highly recommend, if you have the means to pick one up, do so. It's very nice.